I
And
think it's all an opportunity. It depends how early you get in on it. My friend asked me, she's a marketing director, why was Ligo different from Coke? Or not even from others. Why was it different for Ligo? I said, aside from donating money, this is what I feel. They were brave enough to talk their mind. So some people don't even want to think about the new normal. So they say, no, things are going to be the same. I don't want things to change. It will change.
welcome to episode 5 of the Wildcast. And today we're talking to Michelle Barretto, CEO and founder of Vitamin B, a strategy design and advertising company. We have been working with them over the last few years on our Good Roast coffee and our Mountain Fondos jersey design. So the jersey designs and our coffee pack designs and strategy really comes from this brilliant group from Vitamin B. She talks to us about design thinking, how design can help solve the problems we face today, adapting businesses to the new normal, and their current pet project, Medijeep, a transportation solution they developed with the city of Mandaluyong that uses jeepneys to transport non-COVID patients that need medical care. It was an incredibly interesting discussion, and I definitely came away from it with a lot of useful insights, both going through and post COVID 19 and life and business in general. Enjoy. Give it a listen. Thank you very much, Michelle, and welcome to the Wildcast. You're my fifth guest on the Wildcast podcast, and thank you very much for coming on. And maybe you can introduce yourself.
Aside from being JP Alipia's friend and his wife's friend, yeah, so I'm Michelle Barretto and I am a brand strategist. So for branding, we look at business models, systems, products, experiences, and communications. I have a full team of creative people who I work with. So pretty much when we come up with strategy, they translate that into an executionable or tangible idea in whatever form we feel is necessary or appropriate. So that's what we do. I own a small firm called Vitamin B. It's 15 years old. It's a boutique branding agency. Primarily, we do a lot of work in real estate and in healthcare, which I think right now with the crisis is very, very appropriate because, you know, social distancing, it's about spaces. And then
Right.
healthcare, of course, is that. So when this happened, it was just, everything about real estate and healthcare put together when we could never marry both. And then it just all came together and unfortunately with COVID.
That's
So
right.
so
That's
yeah.
right. So let me just show. Um, I have your website up here on my
Okay.
screen, and then I'm just gonna show people what it is. And so this is basically the website of Vitamin B. So they're a branding agency that specializes in building and elevating brands through creative and insightful brand strategy, brand design, and brand experience. So that is their website. If you want to look them up, they're vitaminb-brands.com. And they're a really talented group. They've designed a few things for us, and we're very thankful for that. So they've designed basically our jersey for the upcoming Cordillera Mountain Fondos. Supposedly, if we can even run it this year. So
Yeah.
this is the jersey that they designed. Really, really nice. Really, really nice jersey here.
Yeah.
It's made from, what do you call it? It's sort of designed after the rice terraces, and that was the
Hmm.
inspiration for this design. So it's really nice of them. And then of course they also made the design for our
Good
good
roast.
roast. Yeah, our good roast coffee. Where is that? Let me just look it up. Good roast coffee. Uh-huh. Okay, here it
That
is.
was patterned after the tribal weaves of the Sagada region. So that was the inspiration for that
Right,
brand.
that's right. The good roast was patterned after that. And let me show you here. So this is the good roast. So premium Arabica single origin beans with good roots. So they even designed the strategy for our coffee. And so you can see this is the main design here for the good roast, and they go through the whole design process. And see there, this here, this is the good roast coffee packs, which vitamin B thankfully designed for us. So really, really nice stuff that from a really talented team as well, no?
And you remember here, we really love this feature at the back
Mhm.
where it actually educates the user with the region in the Sagada region where the coffee beans are from, because it's single origin. Like here,
That's
you're
right, right. This
explaining
is this is the
Ato,
Benguet region, actually.
Benguet region.
Benguet
Yeah.
province, yeah. And
Yeah.
yes, it's really nice that the design actually incorporates the the actual place where the coffee was planted. And sometimes I think for a lot of the products we don't know where it comes from, no. A lot of the products that you get in the supermarket, there's no connection anymore from the original source of this product.
Mhm.
And through your agency and through your design, you were actually able to come out with this design that not only showed showcased our product, but also showed where the product came from, where coffee was planted and cultivated, and all of that. So that was so thank you
That
for that
was
one.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that was fun.
yeah, that was fun for us also. Going
Yeah.
through with you guys with the creative process, no.
You
So
were skeptical, diba?
yeah, of course, I'm like a cheapskate. Parang how to go about getting a big design firm. And then of course it really shows that getting good people to work on stuff, it really pays up. And
Thank
your
you.
team is one of the best, no. So we were really happy with that. And of course everybody actually commented about the coffee packs and everything.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah, even the mayors of some of the towns here actually, oh, it's our town, it's on the coffee pack. And normally that's not, yeah,
Really?
that's not
Yeah.
something that they would get, no, because it's always branded as, let's say, Calzada coffee or something else. And sometimes it's very
Yeah.
difficult to point the there's always a difficulty to put the narrative in where it comes
Yeah.
from and all of that. So then of course now there's a lot more coffee brands that are trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And so how are you
Okay.
doing with the crisis at the moment?
Busy. Busier than it's busier
It's
than
busier. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So we have some projects so of course we also do commercial work, like we said,
Right.
real estate, healthcare. So we have projects that are continuing, making sure that, we're still up to our deadlines, right? But we have some projects that have slowed down. We said, okay, we'll start again after the lockdown. And you know that we've used that time to figure out how design could help, right?
Right.
And so that those hours have been dedicated to that. And because we're working from home, and we can't do the typical process that we do, so it's actually more intense, like you're coordinating by WhatsApp, by Zoom meetings, and
That's right.
so
That's right.
we're
Parang it's
busy, but
parang for your job, it's actually easier to have the whole team in a room and just bounce ideas
yeah,
off of each other, no? I would
yep,
imagine parang
yep,
with Zoom, it's very hard to have more than three voices all at the same
yeah,
time talking, and
yeah,
online. That's really a challenge, no?
yeah,
Um, so a lot of your projects have slowed, but some of your projects are pushing through. Do you also project like redesigning the strategy for the projects that have slowed down? Because obviously it's going to be a big change, no, in the next, I don't know, next few months.
yes, definitely. So I was telling you, we do spaces, right? And spaces now will completely change,
Right.
right? Because it's the places we go to that people are fearful of. So, we have some clients now who, their products are actually well suited for after COVID.
Mhm.
and they didn't even realize. So we had to point that out to them. So we're like, these are the features in your building that you should now actually talk about, because post COVID, that's what people are looking for. And then with clients, that's not how their products are, put
Right.
together.
So there's
So
both opportunities and of course things that you can't continue on, no, with COVID now. I mean, this is a
yes,
new reality for us and for the whole world. No?
I
And
think it's all an opportunity. It depends how early you get in on it,
right,
right?
right. Now that's the
So
entrepreneur mindset in you, no? Parang and strategist. Because
really, maybe
parang it's all
because
an opportunity. A lot of people see it as parang doom and gloom, but you're looking at it as everything is an opportunity.
yeah, and I don't know if it sounds bad, but after COVID, right? In a way, it will be less competitive
Right.
because there are going to be businesses and brands that will die out, unfortunately, but that's the truth, right? So, and then for those who are able to stay longer, not all of them will know how to react to the new normal. So some people don't even want to think about the new normal. So they say, no, things are going to be the same. I don't want things to change. It will change.
Right.
You and I talk about this. It should change, right?
Right. It should
Businesses
change. It should
it
change.
should change. If we don't learn anything from this, I think it's sad, and it'll happen again. Whether it's a pandemic or it's something else, but something's gonna hit us again. So we should learn from this. And
So it should
again,
be like a business evolution in I'm a biologist, so
absolutely,
parang the weak businesses should die. Would you say is that
yeah,
something? Yeah. Even and if they can't really
yeah,
compete, then it's something that's a natural process that they should die or they should evolve into something else, and that's part of the whole process that we need to painfully go through. No,
yes,
business
should.
evolution.
Yeah, I guess should is a harsh term,
Right.
but yeah, it will. Yes, right, because it's become so excessive, right? At a certain point, um, things will give, whether it's the environment or it's health, it's a pandemic, it's excessive, right?
Right, that's right.
So
That's right. There's
yeah,
always this push for constant growth, and sometimes we need to just
yeah,
like plateau. That's fine. We can just
yeah,
stay at this level. We don't need to constantly grow, and
absolutely.
there's no push for that, no. And like maybe can you take me through what's your typical day now compared to before? Before you would wake up maybe at 6 a.m., drive to the
No,
office, or no? Okay. Oh, you're the
yeah, yeah,
boss, so you can go a little later.
yeah. No, luckily I'm counterflow, so it takes me 30 minutes to get to the office.
Okay.
So yeah, so that saves me a lot of time. So no, I still try to keep a routine. I wake up the same time that I used to wake up and going to work. I think I said that at the very beginning. It was important for me to have some sense of normalcy. Otherwise, I go nuts. So yeah, so I keep the same routine Monday to Friday. It's
All
just
right.
really I'm I'm at
You're at
I'm
home.
in my laptop. Yeah, I'm in my laptop, or I'm on the phone checking my WhatsApp groups, or I set aside time to read, but it's all work related. I generally still keep a schedule. I just started to incorporate a little bit more of exercise because you don't have the travel time and you can do that.
Mhm.
But other than that, I wake up, start the day with my team, see what we're gonna do for the day, and then the whole day talk to clients, brainstorm with the team.
So you
So
still go through a regular work week, basically Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, so something
yeah,
like that. No,
yeah,
same routine and everything. So is it
yes,
is it more difficult to work from home, or do you do more like I've found that mostly I work from home, and
yeah,
technically it's very hard to clock out. No, parang you don't really clock out at 5 p.m. No? So parang 9 p.m. na you're still working,
yeah,
and does this happen to you now compared to before? You go to the office, you clock out of the office, and then you can go to a bar or something. But
yeah,
now you work from home. There's no bar to go to, and you can't
yeah,
really clock out. No, you can't go home because
yeah,
you're already home.
yeah. So I never liked working from home. I know some people liked it, but because I couldn't find the difference. So I'd work in my bed. I'd work in. So it wasn't comfortable because my bedroom felt like an office. So I had to create a space, and then I had to set the time to start, to stop. So in our office, we clock in the morning in WhatsApp, and we clock out. Right. So there's
Ah,
also a
okay.
time when you kind of know, yeah. So you know you don't, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
that's when people start. That's when people end. So we do that, and then for me, what's more difficult now is really more prioritizing my work hours between um, doing the projects that are existing, doing the health crisis projects, and also planning for vitamin B's future,
Right, right.
immediate and long term, right?
That's right.
Because
That's
I
right.
need to do
Because
that.
because
Yeah,
you're going to have to change your business as well, no?
yeah,
To respond to this whole thing. It's not going
yeah,
to be the same advertising landscape after COVID-19. I mean, companies will have less money. They might
yeah,
not be advertising in the next year. They don't know who to sell to because nobody's buying, and there's a lot of different things that you'll have to
yeah.
consider as a brand strategist. And so going to design, you talk about design thinking quite a bit, no? Design thinking, and how do you think design thinking? A lot of people think design is more like graphic design. That's the sort of
Yeah,
typical thing
yeah.
that most people will say they know about design. No? It's designing clothes, or it's a very parang aesthetic
Yeah.
visual advertising. So what is your concept of design exactly? Like how does
Um,
design uh for you, no? How is design for you?
so we always say, so there's this frame of mind where design is a solution, right? So I always tell my people who are designers, there's a lot of them come from the creative aspect where it's about expression, and that's fine. You know what I mean? Artists have a lot of money and they're very, very creative. But as a designer, you have a specific task. It's not merely your expression. So it's either the task of solving a problem for a client, or something like an environment. So it's really design is coming up with solutions, right? And
Right.
ideally, of course, make it pretty na rin, right?
Uh,
But primarily it should have a function.
right.
If it's not really that functional, it's art. And
Right.
I'm not knocking art, but that's the
Right. Right.
difference, right?
Right.
So yeah.
There's this example I'd like to parang to just to show how design actually works as a solution is I went to this it's like an eco building in Seattle, which where in the design of the building, they designed the stairs to have the prettiest view and the nicest design. And they put the elevator in the ugliest place in sort of like the not in the natural path of people.
Yeah.
And this was to make people use the
Walk
stairs,
more.
no? Walk
Yeah.
more, use the stairs, use less energy. And that's the role of design in solving that problem, no? Parang
Yeah.
you're able to change where people move, or like for instance simply putting in bigger sidewalks is a design thing, right? I mean bigger
Yeah.
sidewalks with plants and trees, and more people tend to walk in these areas
Yeah.
that have more beautiful spaces. Like for instance, if you compare BGC and Quezon City,
Mhm.
more people drive in QC than BGC. Only, I mean, simply because of the way the city is designed, and that's a design problem that was solved in a sense.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I told you, we did a little bit of a walkability study in BGC,
Mm-hmm.
and we had very, very interesting insights from that one. And then there's a guy I met. His name is Leandro Poco. He did a space syntax study in the city. What we know about walkability here today, when I heard his talk, is different from what the reality and planning is. Very, very interesting. So
Mm.
the walkable cities that we know, and I don't know if we're jumping topics to
Right,
topics, but
right.
I
That's
guess
fine.
that's,
That's fine.
but
Yeah.
that's, the walkable cities that we know actually contribute to traffic.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so very, very interesting. So he said, a city like BGC is only planned to be walkable within BGC.
Right. Okay.
But to get out of BGC, you need a car.
That's
So
true.
people
That's
still
right.
need to,
That's
yes, people need to take cars in and out. So what happens is BGC is flooding cars into EDSA or
mm,
C5, right?
that makes real sense. No, it's sort of
Exactly.
like the subdivisions now where they're so displaced from public transport, and
Yeah.
you're driving vehicle use in subdivisions because people. I mean, I've lived in subdivisions in Manila, and it's when I first lived in the subdivision, I didn't have a car, and I would have to
Yeah.
walk maybe 2 kilometers
Exactly.
just to get to public transport. So that's driving, no, and yeah,
Exactly.
exactly what you're saying, no,
Yeah.
and
So villages is another one he was saying. Villages pump in cars to
exactly,
EDSA.
right,
So
right,
he was
right,
saying it's not EDSA that's the problem. It's all these satellite developments, right, that you build that require cars. So you're just,
and
putting
they're
more
not
cars into
linked
the city.
together, no, parang that's the problem also, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you work a lot on most of your jobs are obviously they're parang commercial. You work for a lot of land agencies, development projects like
yeah.
BGC or Alveo, and a lot of these things. So now during this time, no, there's this concept called designing for development. So how do you think what is the role of design in tackling the challenges that we have now, just coming from what we just discussed?
Um, like I said, we're talking about the breakdown of systems,
Mm.
right? Uh, the role of design really that we see is to be able to not just create better products, create better services, create all those breakdowns in the system. How do you fix it? How do you connect it? That's design.
Right.
So sometimes, like Medijeep, when we launch it, it's not really an aesthetically beautiful, you know what I mean? Like we didn't design a new Jeep, right? But there's a gap in the system where we felt like you could link a few pieces together with minimal design work and you could connect the system again.
Right.
Right? So it's
Right.
like, you're like piecing things together again to make the whole system work.
Oh,
So that's the thing with design because it's solving problems, right? When you did, there are a lot of problems. There are a lot of things that will disconnect when developments get bigger or when you're creating new developments. So it's making sure that you're able to address all of these problems, right?
all right.
Making things better. So
All right. Well, you just discussed Medijeep, so I'm gonna jump right to that. And so, what is Medijeep exactly, and how did this idea come about?
so Medijeep is a point-to-point medical transport. It is meant to be an alternative for the ambulances, specifically during COVID. Right? So, how did this come about? So, a group of friends of mine, they were trying to help a guy who works with government in terms of we asked him, what do you need? PPEs, what do like how can we help you? So these group of girls were saying. And what I did was I just put a bit of a process in terms of how we were going to talk to this man. His name's Roel Capunan. He's a great guy. So I told him, okay, I'll give you a few answers to ask me to answer. I said, what if, based on this whole scenario, what do you feel is the most immediate need? And then the second thing I asked him is, what do you feel is the biggest need? Sometimes what's most immediate isn't the biggest, right?
Right.
And then the third is, what is a need that may not be immediate and may not be big, but it's a need nobody's filling? Because I know PPEs are a big and immediate need, and everybody's there, right?
Right.
Is there another need that walang tumutulong, right? So what's that? That was the third question. And the fourth is just, give us the whole scenario of what the government's trying to do and where things are not working. So he explained what the immediate, what the biggest, and then that small need he was saying, yung isa kong, he said in Filipino, right? He goes, um, last week sa Cavite, may lolo daw na may sakit, right?
Mhm.
And the ambulance there couldn't take him to the hospital just because the ambulance driver was afraid to drive. So the lolo died. He goes, hindi nga namin alam kung COVID siya eh. Kasi hindi man lang siya umabot ng hospital because the ambulance wouldn't drive. So we're like, why wouldn't they drive? So right now, anybody who's sick is almost assumed to be COVID. Right?
Okay.
Unless it's a heart attack or, basta you have
so
a cough.
whatever sickness, parang, COVID na yan. And automatically, nobody wants to pick you up.
Exactly, right? Because apparently, so the ambulance drivers need the sophisticated PPEs because they're inside a contained air-conditioned vehicle with potentially a PUM or a PUI, right?
Okay.
So he needs the hazmat suit, he needs that. And because it's, lacking right now, it never gets to them. It goes to the doctor first, if at all. So these ambulance drivers and the people, the medics, they're afraid. So they won't drive. So that's why they didn't drive that ambulance, right? Because there's already a case where nagkahawaan inside an ambulance.
Right.
So because they're not, basically, unless you are a member of Lifeline or you can pay, the Makati Med or St. Luke's ambulance, you're going to rely on the barangay, the LGU ambulance, and they may not take you there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a concern that was going to grow as this thing spreads, right? So he was saying, what's going to happen? Maglalakad yung mga tao. Pag maglakad yung mga tao, he said, dadaan yan sa 7-Eleven para pumila ng tubig. And when they do that, they're going to infect everybody there and we can't trace them.
Right.
So the point-to-point was important because of the tracing.
Right. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So
yeah.
Parang you go from the house, you take out everything that person will have to go through to get to the hospital because those are all points of contact.
Yes, right. So even if you drive your car, right? So for a rich person, he'll drive his car. If he takes people in the car with him, that's already, you're infecting others. Because in an ambulance, they limit, diba, how many can go. Number two, he was saying, even if they drive their cars, we don't know kung magpapagas siya in the middle or again, papara siya sa 7-Eleven. So that the point-to-point was critical. And then, so we said, and then the air conditioning was another problem. Apparently, it actually helped,
propagate the virus.
Yes. So we just said, look, I'll say this, right? I think the other, like Vico Soto, tried the tricycles, right?
That's right.
But he tried it for frontliners.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a bit of a skew here. We're saying, but you know what? The tricycles may be good vehicles, we said, because ang tricycle, di ba, yung cab na sa side.
Right. That's
so
right.
Because
that's right.
We started with that. I told him, the cab is on the side. So there's a bit of a distance with the driver, right? I said, if I design a barrier in the middle to protect the driver, right, would that help you? And I said, but there's no air conditioning and then there's no door, so the driver doesn't have to get off. The guy can just come in.
Right.
Then he goes, hey, oh my God. And you could see it was a light bulb for him. So he was like, can you put that together? I'll pitch it to DILG and to NDRRMC, and if they like it, we can pitch it to LGs. Can you put that together? So it's like, yeah, sige, we'll put it together. And then after the meeting, in 10 minutes, he texted, DILG wants to see it. And then he said, he just said they don't want lang tricycle, anything but a tricycle. So we're like, okay, we don't know why, but okay. So we decided what would be another same open air where there's no door, we can, make sure that the driver has no contact with a PUI if in case. And
so there's a plastic barrier inside also, yeah?
Yeah. So what we did was very, very simple adjustments. A plastic barrier inside. We put tarpaulin signages outside so they would be official and checkpoints wouldn't stop them. Also because all the other GP drivers might start driving thinking, oh, pwede na
exactly,
diba?
yeah,
So
exactly.
It had to be official, and then the dispatch would come from the LGU, right? So again, when we would train the drivers, no contact. So the patient, even the dispatcher will say, when the driver comes in, you get behind, ganun, diba? So no contact at all. So and then the disinfecting process.
So the design also included like the call center where they're going to call in, or did you just design the I mean, did you design the process where they call and then
Yeah.
and the whole thing? So it's a whole system that you put together. It's not
Yes.
just the Jeep, no?
Yes. The Jeep won't work if the system doesn't, you know what I mean, isn't put together.
Right.
So yeah, we designed the system as well. So we're gonna train them tomorrow to do that. And
Okay.
then for us, we're telling them you're gonna give livelihood to these jeepney drivers. Kasi normally may ano yung associations eh, kunwari
That's
tricycle,
right.
TODA. Diba?
Right.
So you can even tap them and then mag-usap na sila, you know, baka
Per
pwedeng,
area.
Per area,
Yeah.
and then sana alternate because we don't need all of them, right? But at
Right.
least we could give some livelihood. And I think it's also, you know, giving them dignity, right?
Right.
So
Right. It's work,
they lost,
diba? Parang, yeah.
it's work. And they lost their jobs.
Right.
Diba? Parang easily in like one day when they said lockdown, wala na silang lahat trabaho.
Right.
Diba? Basta hindi lang. Right? But now they can actually be useful contributors too. They will be frontliners.
That's true.
Right?
That's
because the LGU cannot, you know, if this blows up, you can't buy more ambulances. How much will that cost?
true. Right.
And then you can't supply the hazmats for the, you know. So with this one, they will have simpler gear.
Just a mask, maybe.
Just a mask and a lab gown. Apparently
Mm.
not a hazmat. Just a mask and a lab gown. And then the jeep is separated and whatever. Right. And then we'll have disinfecting units in place, both on the jeep and in the barangay when they come back.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, so that's a really, really simple idea, no, that you've designed so that you respond to this problem, which right now a lot of people are actually falling through the gaps. You know, a lot of people who have heart disease, cancer, dialysis, all of these things where they actually need to go to the hospital, but they're not being able to go to the hospitals because there's no transport. There's no, I mean, I read somewhere that people with disease are walking from their homes to the hospital, and that's like 10 kilometers. And like you said, they'll stop in a 7-Eleven, they'll stop in a sari-sari store or whatever to buy water. And those are all contact points, no? And simply by using something that already exists, which is a Jeep, and putting a whole system, designing a whole system for it, you've solved this little problem that all cities now have, no, not just Manila. In Baguio, I think they have something similar, but it's a taxi system naman. So our taxis are the ones where there's like a designated number of taxis, and if you have a heart problem or whatever, you can call a number and they'll designate the taxi.
Thank you.
Yeah, parang ganon. Yeah.
Okay.
These are all simple solutions.
Exactly. And I think that's what's great about design, right? I actually think if the solution is simpler, and in a country like the Philippines, if the solution is affordable and quick to do, then it helps right away, right? I mean, if we came to them and said, you have to design a new Jeep, you have to ganyan, it's never going to happen. By the time it happens, tapos na, how many people have died?
And the cost, so, parang for us, we can't even afford all of these things. And there are already systems in place that we can use. So, I mean, that's exactly what you're doing right now, no?
And it takes, just to give you an idea, to convert one Jeep, it's a maximum of 10,000 pesos, right?
Oh, 10,000 pesos, okay.
Yeah, right now, the only reason, to be honest, what's more expensive are the masks because they're disposable. Like, they're so expensive, right? One box is like around 900 pesos. So that's already a tenth of just the mask. It's a tenth already of the price of the total thing. And then the lab gowns have to be. So the consumables, the ones they're wearing disposable, that's actually the more mahal part because we're supplying at least for 1 month. Mm-hmm. Right, but the tarpaulin, the clear plastic, and it's
super cheap, right?
It's super cheap. It's super cheap, right? And
tali lang yun. You just attach it.
Tali lang yun. And we're even they're gonna move it around from one Jeep to the next.
Oh, okay. So talagang tipid. It's not per Jeep. Yeah.
Exactly. Yung mahal lang talaga yung mask, yung gloves, So
and how much would a ride in the Jeep cost? Is there already a calculation for the cost of the ride, or is it free?
It's free because it's by LGU.
Oh,
right?
okay. So the LGU is paying for everything. Essentially.
Exactly. And JP, I saw kasi someone sent me nga, like the rides given to frontliners in Muntinlupa.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw it, they were seated beside each other.
Right.
So I sent it to our partner. I said, can you reach out to the Muntinlupa? I mean, it's great for the frontliners, but you have to understand, when they leave the hospital, the likelihood that they got infected, or at least, you know what I mean, they got
Right.
exposed to, is
Medyo
high.
mataas, yeah.
Exact. And then you're making all of them sit side by side in that vehicle, right? That's not, you're violating social distancing within the vehicle, right? So here, even in the Jeep, we have markers
Okay.
because they can only take how many people and where they are allowed to sit. So
Okay.
the same principles apply, alcohol,
So
hygiene, social
essentially in
distancing.
the Jeep doesn't necessarily have to take just one patient. It can take like multiple patients along the route. Is that what
So it's point to point.
Okay.
It won't stop anywhere else.
Okay.
The maximum number we'd like for the Jeep to take is 3.
Oh, 3.
Right?
Okay. That's not a lot.
Yes. Because only so that we can also, what do you call that? Practice social distancing within the Jeep.
Right.
Because when we take you there for dialysis, we have to pick you up. Babalik yung Jeep to pick them up.
Right.
Again, this is someone who's going through dialysis. So his immune system is a bit low. And
That's
he
right.
just came from the hospital. Even if sabihin mo di siya dumaan ng ER,
Mhm.
I don't know kung meron siyang nadaanan potentially na,
Right,
COVID
right.
positive. My friend was called because she was in an elevator in her condo. What more if you were in the hospital, right?
That's right.
So the system assumes that we're transferring PUIs.
Okay.
So at least for safety protocols, we're assuming that we have enough distancing and whatever. It assumes that it can run for PUIs.
Okay. And like, what is the total budget for this? How much? Like, just to give a range for LGUs who might be listening to this podcast. Like, how much are they planning to spend in Mandaluyong in terms of this?
So this one we actually fundraised for it.
Okay.
Right. So but the cost is around 10,000 per Jeep.
10,000.
So
per
like
Jeep.
I said, that's around 1 month's worth of surgery, the
PPEs
consumables
and
part. Yeah. But the banners, that's fixed already. Right?
Okay.
So after, to set up for a month is 10,000, and then less after that.
Okay. Okay. So the initial setup is a little more expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And then after, you just replenish the masks and the lab gowns, basically, and the alcohol. Right. So I think it's inexpensive, right? And but it's not just going to be necessary during the lockdown. Even after the lockdown,
right?
You'll need it.
Right. I don't think people will be traveling. Parang social distancing will be the new normal. No? There won't be mass crowds, and if you can avoid it, people will be, I don't know, 6 feet apart. I think is the recommendation.
Exactly.
So that's going to be the new normal for us. Then, and how many Jeeps are you targeting for this initial run?
We prepared for 3 Jeeps, but Mandaluyong's already said that they have a few drivers lined up and they're gonna rotate it.
Okay.
That's why it needed to be. So we'll see. But we're prepared for 3 Jeeps, and then like I said, it's fairly inexpensive. So we're also some people are trying to fundraise for this.
Right.
So hopefully, if LGUs are interested, they could get it out there.
Yeah, it's a super simple project, no, and everybody needs it at the moment.
And what we want, this is the big dream, JP, that it goes beyond COVID, right? So the dream is that, it's free to dream, diba? It goes into the system of the National Disaster Program, right? So this Jeep, if there's an earthquake, you can use the Jeeps.
Yeah,
I can slide in a stretcher.
Right.
You activate the community to be part of the rescue.
That's really good, no? Parang you train them, you capacitate them, and they're parang citizen rescuers that just get activated when necessary.
Exactly. It's like a reserve. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
you have a military reserve, but this is a disaster, whatever,
And
reserve
we
that
and
you
we
call
need
it.
this, no? Because the Philippines, we have what, 10 to 20 typhoons a
Exactly.
year, earthquakes,
Exactly.
and now
Yeah.
COVID-19. So
Yeah.
I think I'm actually afraid if this crisis extends to July, August, and then we start getting the strong rain and the
Yeah.
typhoons, and this is going to be like double problems, no, for the
Exactly.
country now.
Yeah. So yeah. So like I said, when we looked at the breakdown of systems, basically that's it. That we're not necessarily, and we're not saying this to knock anybody, but we're not that prepared when disaster hits. And we were talking about it. It's surprising because we get hit by disasters so many times,
Right,
right? And
right.
yet we're not. So I know. So people tell me, oh, because Michelle, when it's the next person in government, papalit na naman yan. But if you put it in policy, right, then pwede right?
Right,
If you put it in policy and systems. So
right.
color coding, it doesn't matter which president sits, we still have color coding,
Right,
right? So it's not a real traffic rule. I mean, you know what I mean?
right.
But it's something designed for the country and it's there regardless. So why can't you instill things like this in policy? And that's where I think, I listened to this guy talk about Melbourne.
Melbourne,
And
yeah.
the reason, Melbourne pala, when they were planning it, the government specifically got a designer as part of government.
I love
So
Melbourne. It's a really nice city.
there. And because a designer was part of it, he was
Uh,
seated in government. There was a role for him in government,
so do you
right?
think that
So
having a designer in every LGU should be the norm, given that designers are actually people who find solutions to problems?
I'm not sure if in LGU or in the national level,
Mhm.
right? But definitely.
Yeah, kasi parang
Um,
even the LGUs,
definitely.
they'll hire a designer, but the designer is really a graphic designer. Parang not
Yes.
not in the sense of a designer for solutions, no? So
Exactly.
that's the concept that a lot of governments talk about, that parang, oh, I'll get a designer, but it's a designer pang banner, pang
Exactly.
tarp or
Iba
everything.
yun. Yeah.
Right.
Iba yun. You need somebody who will look at it in a big scale and then connect the dots,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when they connect the dots, when it's connected, how do you plan it down to the detail of the LGU? So I feel like it has to be more at the national level,
Okay.
right? And then from there, so again, you look at, you have a bigger perspective. So you look
Pero
at
if you
health
think
in
about it
different
now,
regions.
it's not the national that's taking the lead, no? It's all the LGUs. So parang if you think about it, all these LGUs are stepping up and they're designing their own stuff. Like Vico is doing his own thing, Marikina is designing their own strategy,
Yeah.
and maybe having this little cities compete with each other rather than having a national government say this is how we need to do it and everybody has to do it. Competition, like the open free market, might be a better option.
True, but what could happen also is you let these LGUs do that. And then the things that work, you pull it up,
Yeah.
and then you can take it to the other
Oh yeah,
LGUs,
definitely.
right?
That's something
Exactly.
that
So,
can happen.
exactly. That's why you need that kind of mindset at national level because, you know what I mean? The capabilities, the budgets of each LGU will be different,
Right.
right? So it's like in marketing, they call, you have brand managers and then you have category managers. That category manager, we look at how the entire category moves. Because otherwise, there are only some brands that are malakas. The other brands are not, right? So the category manager now makes decisions for the whole category so that even the mahina natutulungan.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
just like
I
right
think
now,
it's
I like the concept of competing cities. Just like like I think it that that will be able to force cities to maybe lower taxes, get more investment, because
True.
they compete with each other,
Yeah.
no? And
Yeah.
parang the way we've been doing it for the last 100 years is that the national government tells everybody what to do and everybody
Mm-mm.
follows because the money comes from the national government. But what we're seeing with COVID-19 is all these cities stepping up. You know, they're
Yeah.
really they're really creating their own little spaces. Na parang right now, I want to move to Pasig, or I want to move to
Yeah.
Baguio because parang their mayor, their governance is
Galing.
great, galing,
Yeah.
and there's and it comes with the investment market as well, 'di ba? Parang if you're a business, you want to be in Pasig because they're more
Yeah.
stable. Or
Yeah.
you want to be in a certain city because they're simply better at doing things. And I think
Exactly.
competition will do that. Hindi yung parang right now kasi everybody just gets a dole out from the national government. So there's no incentive to compete. Parang
True.
you get the money anyway, whatever you do through your era,
Yeah.
based on how many people live there and how many people pay tax and everything. But I think cities need to start competing with each other, and I think that's
Yeah.
something and with your design thinking, that's something that they can start doing as well.
I think what's interesting is because LGUs, because you're on the ground, you'll get firsthand insight that the national government will not.
Right.
Right? So even the national government, you'll get data from the different people on the ground, and LGUs would be one of them. So yun nga, if you're a magaling LGU and you already have the data, you have the feel, you have the pulse of the public, then you can make it into something without having to wait for national government. Definitely.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But yeah, the role of national government ideally is you're able to now take best practices and share it across
Right.
everybody. I think that's always, remember when we were kids, that's what they would always say about the Philippines. We're very regionalistic, right? So
Right. That's true.
everybody,
Yeah.
and we need to be a little bit also more nationalistic in that sense. So
Right.
yeah, and because wealth, education, it's not evenly spread out talaga in the country, right? So you need some sort of oversight to be able to take care of the other areas as well. So yeah, so both. I think
Both. Yeah.
both. Right? But
Okay.
to your point of putting a designer in government, I think so. I don't know if that's something Philippines is ready for, to be honest. It's such a new notion, and it's difficult for a designer to maneuver politics.
That's
You know what I
right.
mean?
That's right. Yeah.
So it has to be also an environment that you know helps the designer. He can't maneuver
Right. But all it takes is
very
one
little.
one example, diba? Like say one LGU gets a designer, puts them on the staff, and they do really
Yeah,
well, and
yeah,
everybody starts copying. Ganun naman, diba? Parang it's
yeah.
the shawarma effect, or the Zaldo
Exactly,
effect, or whatever.
exactly. Yeah. And I think what we want to show is you don't have to do expensive innovation, R&D. You could do little tweaks,
Right. It doesn't
and
have
you
to be
could,
complicated,
yeah,
and that's what designers can do. Simplify things so that you find solutions the simplest way possible.
should be. It should be that way.
All right. So let's
So,
move on to now. I mean, you're a brand strategist. You work with a lot of big companies. You've worked with Ayala, Ortigas, a lot of medical firms, and us tiny little company here in the mountains. And um, so how is this? How do you think this whole COVID-19 is going to change the landscape? What's your opinion? How is it going to change?
in terms of business, in
Well,
terms of
in terms of business, in terms of
people,
the market, like what brands will survive, do you think, and what
uh,
brands will not survive?
I, to be honest, it would be my personal take right now,
Right.
because I don't think anybody really knows.
Yeah.
But what I think right now, there are certain things that we're doing now we've never done before. So, for example, online banking. You know what I
Right.
mean? We were forced to do certain things during the lockdown, And I think we will continue to do more of that. That will be part of, they say it takes how many days to form a habit. During the lockdown, it's already been formed because we've already completed those number of days.
Kasi you have no
So
choice.
that will be, you have no choice, right? And so those will be part of our behavior. So that will grow. Second is, what's interesting for me this time is, so we like to look at the consumer's mindset, right? People are behaving, and reacting out of fear.
Right.
This, no one in our generation has ever experienced anything like this, like it's a global, meltdown. So people are reacting out of fear. And so I noticed that what people are spending on are things that will give them some form of security. So my investment clients are telling me investments are up.
Oh, really?
In the yeah. So they're
Investments
normal
in, like,
times.
What kind of investments are these? Like stock, or are they investing in bonds or T-bills?
Mutual funds, insurance.
Really?
I know some millennials who text me and say, Michelle, I've never thought about it. Now I think I need to buy my own HMO because my company, doesn't have one.
Wow.
Right? I mean, they never thought about it. All of a sudden, he wants to buy an HMO. Right? So security, right? Because of this uncertainty.
Right. There's so much uncertainty right now. Yeah.
Yes. So the things, before, I could go without a job. I could go, things like that. But this insecurity is heightened. So apparently investments, mutual funds, things like that are, these investment companies are doing well.
Really?
Insurance, yeah.
Despite the stock market tanking, or is it a good time to buy because the stock market is down?
Yes. So that's what our investment clients have been telling us. So you typically buy, my mentor was telling me, what Filipinos don't understand, huwag kayo mag-panic buying sa supermarket. Mag-panic buying kayo sa stock market. Right? He was like, so the companies that we work with, because part of their purpose is financial education, because they're teaching their people, you buy now, right? May sweldo naman kayo, nasa bahay lang kayo, buy now. So they are able to educate the market and their sales are up.
But this is also assuming that the companies that they're buying into will do well post-COVID, diba? Parang you're assuming that, but you don't know. You don't know if these companies will do well. You don't know if people will be buying and spending. Siguro Meralco, obviously, everybody pays electricity. Then okay, I'll buy Meralco stock. Or
I think there are two things they're looking at. One is really the financial capability of the company and the product in the long term, not the short term. So they're telling people, when you buy now, mutual funds, don't flip it in a month. Right? You have to look at it mga 2 years, you know what I mean? So telco is up. I mean, look at our consumption of data. So telco is up, right? Our real estate clients, not much, because everybody's still looking long term, their investments, right? So, so there are still companies, whether short term they're already doing well, like telco companies, insurance companies. Long term, they're still supposed to do well.
Right, because they're looking at it over like a 10-year thing, or maybe even 20 years. No, it's not like the 1-2 years where this whole COVID disaster will affect us. So they're looking at the projection of much longer.
But because the dip is it might even be shorter than 10 years.
Right,
you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not a financial expert, right? But
because the dip is so big, parang it's, I don't know, 30% of the market just got erased. And so parang people are looking at that. But that also assumes that people have the cash, diba? Parang right now, don't you want to hold on to the cash? I don't know.
So the thing that I've noticed here in the Philippines is that there are a lot of people with a lot of money. You know what I mean? And the last decade, a lot of people have made a lot of money. Right? So these people are, still very liquid. They have more than enough. So, as long as you have enough to get by for the year, beyond that is,
That's right.
Is extra. right? So,
Right.
so that's how they think. They're very opportunistic. Like you were saying, I think like an entrepreneur, they're really thinking like savvy investors.
Right.
So that one, so investments are up, healthcare, like we were saying, is up, HMOs. I sent you, I don't know if I sent it to you, in China, right after the lockdown was released, Hermes experienced massive
Wow.
sales.
So
Yeah.
luxury goods.
So I think that comes from, so remember talking about fear and security? So that comes from a different type of fear. You know what I mean? Like it's, when I'm dying, do I need all of this money? And what do
Right.
I really want? So
That's right.
that kind of like,
Gastusin ko na
um,
lahat.
exactly, the
Right.
bana, what is the point? I could have, so there's, so, but again, it's, I think the behavior is driven by uncertainty, whether it's uncertainty and being covered by the basic needs, healthcare, finance, food, or this uncertainty where, life might just end and I need to, you know, um, buy what I want,
Right.
right? So it's that kind of understanding the market to see how will they react, and also being sensitive. So you might be the right product, but you're being too pushy at the wrong time.
Right.
It might just ruin it for your brand.
Right. Right.
So
So don't
yeah, so
don't oversell yourself at the moment. No, parang
not no,
because people are
no.
really, I mean, there are a lot of people who are really hard up and parang trying to sell your product at this time, it's completely insensitive sometimes, depending on the
Yes.
product, obviously.
Like
Like
I
is
have a client, their salesperson is saying, obviously his client is a, very, very wealthy person, real estate, whatever. And then the person just said, how insensitive of you to sell to me at this time. Because, even if you know he has money, what if you don't know that he has a relative at the hospital,
right, right,
right? This virus hit wealthy people, right? So he's probably worried about a friend or a family member, and you're selling him
right,
something. It's not even the capacity. It's just it's not the right time. It's quite insensitive.
right, right. So it's
So
very difficult also to craft a campaign right now. No, like for you, if you're gonna strategize for the companies your clients, and like how would they sell their product now? Obviously, some clients can't sell anything.
yeah,
Maybe some clients can. I don't know, but like how would you craft the message at the moment for someone who wants to sell something in this time?
I think to me it depends. If your product helps them today,
Mm-hmm.
right, and then you can advertise how you can help them today. So, for example, if it's online banking, or you know what I mean, if it's something that can help them while they're in lockdown,
Right,
then that's fine. But if it's not helpful for them today, I told my clients to stop advertising first. I've
right.
asked them to pull out their ads
That's the strategy, no?
from,
Parang just be
yes,
sensitive, take it all out.
yes, take it all out. And then, you know what consumers now want to see? The authenticity of your purpose. Like you have this vision, mission that you kept talking about. How do you now fulfill that? So if you're the type of company that, oh, you sent me that, right? You
Right,
fired your people, right? As soon as the lockdown happened. But you talk about, our culture, we're the best workplace and whatever. And they know you have the funds. It's different if they know you don't, right? Then that's not being authentic to your purpose. So customers will see that
right,
because your purpose, you marketed it to them
right.
as well. So of course
That's
they'll see
true,
it.
no? That's parang a lot of these companies, millennial companies over the last 5 years or 10 years, they all have parang these purpose, no? Like let's say I've seen
Mhm.
shoes that have a purpose and clothing and all of these
Yeah,
things, no? And
yeah.
and how do you continue this past the point where you can't sell anything anymore and nobody's buying, no? So parang does it still connect to the reality of your brand? And so this is
I
a point where your customers actually see what the brand's values actually are.
exactly. I mean, I'm not the only one. I didn't do their campaign, but people have been asking me who did the Ligo campaign
Oh, Ligo
during
sardines, right?
Ligo sardines. The last time I went to the supermarket, I specifically looked for
Right.
Ligo, di ba?
Oh,
Yeah, you can only buy 5 there, but I specifically looked at ubos na, right? And I
right,
know friends who did the same thing,
right,
right? What did they do? They weren't the only ones who diverted their advertising money to CSR. They
right.
weren't the only
Coke did
ones.
this also, right? Coke
Exactly.
basically gave their whole advertising budget to CSR.
Exactly. So my friend asked me, she's a marketing director, why was Ligo different from Coke? Or not even from others. Why was it different for Ligo? I said, aside from donating money, this is what I feel. They were brave enough to talk their mind. Right?
Right,
So they had
right,
those political, you know what I mean,
right,
statements
right.
subtly.
Yeah,
So one is you're generous, two is you're brave. Kasi the others
yeah.
are not brave, diba?
And that
You're,
really creates a lot of brand loyalty automatically,
yeah,
Parang,
yeah,
I mean, you look
right?
for Ligo. I also look for Ligo, although we don't buy sardines.
Me
But
too.
the last time I was like, saan ba yung Ligo dito sa supermarket?
My
So
sardines. But, yeah,
yeah, di ba? Parang everybody knows Ligo sardines now. Even though maybe
exactly.
it's not the best sardines out there, but everybody knows it. Who cares?
Exactly.
Parang you're
Exactly.
gonna buy
Right?
it. And
Yeah.
and a lot of the people who
Yeah.
actually follow them on social media are the people who actually can buy, di ba? They
Yeah.
have the funds to buy. So authentic, and actually that's true, no? Being brave, that's something that's really lost for a lot of companies. And
Exactly.
I think Ligo really stepped up about, being brave and being this company that actually takes on, it's difficult, no? There's trolls out there, and they put out these
Exactly.
things, and
Exactly.
parang kakatakot to be brave in this time.
Yeah.
You know, we have a president who
Yeah.
can take away your business permit just like that. Um,
Exactly.
I know several businesses, and they're trying to
Yeah.
keep a low profile because they don't wanna touch
Exactly.
anything because baka atakihin sila. If they can attack the Ayalas or MVP, ano ba
Yeah.
naman yung small company mo,
Smaller.
di ba? Yeah, di ba?
Exactly.
So it's
So
really
that
incredibly brave, no? That's true. It's
it
incredibly
is.
brave of Ligo.
Yeah. So that was something that people admired, right? Because everybody was looking to government, so frustrated. So when nobody was, and then here comes a brand like nobody really, diba? So
Yeah,
that's
nobody
to
knows
me
this brand. I mean, lots of people,
exactly,
you don't even notice it. It's like an invisible brand. You just buy whatever sardines is there.
exactly, yeah. And so that was brilliant. You know what I mean? But again, it may not be for everybody because bravery is, you
Right.
know what I mean? Not every
Yeah, no,
that's a
it's
trait.
it's definitely difficult, and it's also a
Yeah,
gamble. I don't know how
yeah,
many companies or businesses are willing to gamble, especially now. No,
yeah,
it's very difficult to do now. Obviously, the people running Ligo are young and
yeah,
and very well educated, so
yeah,
they probably have a deep war chest that says to parang, fuck it.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
care. Diba? Parang ganun yung ano nila.
yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
but it's, yeah, so it's, I mean, to the market, the other brands have deep war chests too,
Right.
right? So Ligo is not even as big a brand as the other brands.
Of course. Yeah, of
So
course.
yeah, so it was just, you know what I mean? It was, yeah, so that resonated with people, the bravery. Because the generosity is happening all around. That's great. But the bravery just really resonated with the market. And you know, that pays him for the whole year. Maybe
That's
even the
true.
next
That's
coming,
true.
yeah, like
That's
people,
true.
it's embedded in people's
Parang
minds,
that's
right?
their
So,
advertising, whatever advertising budget they donated.
yun na
Now,
yun.
yun na yun, di ba? Parang
Yun na yun.
it pays for the
Longer pa.
hanggang 2 or 3 years from now, people will still. It's already a brand that everybody knows.
Exactly. Right. And I think because advertising, it's talking, you know what I mean? It's awareness. Here it's parang people have a relationship now with Ligo. You
Right.
know what I mean?
That's
Because
true.
they feel like it's a very socially conscious and
Right.
brave brand.
It
So
I feel it's like the Elon Musk school of advertising. Parang Elon Musk kasi he
yeah,
doesn't pay for advertising, but he does like crazy things or stuff that people will talk about for your
yeah.
for and everybody knows, Tesla and whatever.
And you know what's great? I mean, adding to that is branding really, if you have a good brand, you won't pay for advertising that much. So that's
Right.
what people don't understand, right? So that's why branding is not just logo design. Branding is a total promise. It's a total and the delivery of the promise. So you can promise something, but if you don't deliver it, that's not a brand. You know what I mean? That's advertising,
Right.
right?
Right.
So Starbucks doesn't advertise the way other people,
Right. They hardly
other companies advertise
advertise actually.
exactly.
They hardly
But their
advertise.
stores, they design their stores so that they don't kick you out even if you've been seated for 3 hours, right?
That's
You
true.
can
Yeah.
plug your gadgets and it's okay. Yeah, so
I used to do
people
that
like
in
that.
college. So,
Exactly. I mean, I think it's been abused to an extent, especially in your schools. Like that's
yeah.
already the co-working space, but
Right.
that's the whole, of Starbucks, right? So you go it's when they say they're the third place, they really are the third place.
Right.
So so they hardly spend on advertising. Apple is the same. So they're Elon Musk, right? You don't
Right.
need to see an ad of a Tesla. You, you,
Exactly.
you only need to see an ad of a Tesla to know the new model, but you want a Tesla when you see it. So that's brand. How do you, and that's why design is important in brand because you need to know how to deliver it.
Right.
You have
Right.
to design the experience, whether it's in the product, the system, the customer service.
Right. So it's like
That's
really a
important.
whole package you're giving to the customer, no? And that's really insightful because a lot of people think that to sell a product or to sell your brand, you just need to completely advertise, pay for Facebook ads, whatever. But it's really brand building that's really important. And the
Yeah.
costs of advertising, of marketing actually goes down with the value of your brand going up.
Yes, yeah. Not to say you don't need advertising. You still need it for new customers, to reach new people,
Right.
right? But if you have a good brand, what should happen is once you get them, you're retaining them,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
They're spreading the word.
Right. Right.
So that's why you're spending less advertising.
And
So
like thanks to your work with us, a lot of the people think, oh, they have the best designs, jersey designs. So like
yay.
for our run we normally have maybe 60% return rate or something like that. And these are from
Oh,
people who come from all over the world, no? They fly in
okay.
again, which is unusual for runs. And so I mean that's something, no, parang it's really the whole package of
Mm-mm.
creating that brand, and not just the marketing and selling of uh, of your product. So
Yeah. So I mean that's great. And like I said, marketing is one side of it, branding, but um, we look at how we design cities because we do a lot of real estate, right? And it's important. Diba? So that's why we try to do this pro bono stuff. It allows us to do things our clients won't
allow
have
you
us
to do.
do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? So yeah, so there's that then selfish, what do you call that? I don't know if it's selfish. Yeah, but we know we won't be able to do these things with clients, right? But
Right.
we want to be able to show how design works. And to be honest, I want to test our ideas.
Right.
So that's the selfish side of it. When we have this idea, we get so excited, like the Medijeep. So kaya ba? Parang kaya eh. So we talk to each other like at the office, di ba? I mean, it's so simple. It's so easy. Parang kaya eh, di ba? So I was telling my creative director. So we've been studying design systems, things like this for
Mm-hmm.
years, but we never had the opportunity to do it here because they'll always say, "So magkano yung revenue?" And it's not a revenue-driven thing. So we finally get to do this. We've always done it. I don't know if I told you we did like Litter of Light for
Right. Litter of light.
Diaz.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so we've done projects pro bono for partners like that, but not really initiating an idea ourselves.
Mhm.
So I started like, who would have thought that we're able to do this? Like, try to, prototype our own idea during a crisis, right? I mean,
Right,
coming
right.
into lockdown, we never knew, we had all these ideas, we didn't know who to pitch it to, how to get it to happen. And then the crisis happens, and it just, you know, the universe just connected us to the right people
Right,
one by
right.
one, and then we're gonna try something tomorrow.
Yeah, man,
So,
that's amazing, di ba? From
so
concept all the way to implementation, and probably faster than you would normally do it, right? Like
yeah,
this is a much faster process than what you would do with companies or whatever, and
yes,
you're being able to implement it and troubleshoot it, you know, immediately. So that's
yeah.
pretty amazing.
Exactly. So, I mean, we have this other thing I was telling you about. I call it reverse innovation for
Hmm.
single-use plastic.
Okay.
We've been working on that for a couple of months now, and because we had other, stuff in the pipeline.
Hmm.
Um, it's always been shelved, and I really didn't know who to pitch it to and whatever. So that's there. And then, like you said, this thing happened. Boom, boom, boom. In 1 week, the whole thing is put together, and the whole thing will be, prototype. Then I guess the difference is kasi ito urgent yung need eh, diba?
Right.
So climate change, di siya ganun ka-urgent. So people were like, oh, okay, yeah. But
Right.
it's urgent,
Right.
right?
We
So
need to do it
things,
now. So
yeah,
there's resources and people are more willing to take on the idea.
yeah. So, and then we're going back to what you're saying about what will people buy, what will people, so yeah, so definitely all those things about security. And then, you have those far-flung dreams that, before I die, I want to do it. I might as well do it now because I thought I might die
So
or the world
bucket
might
list
end.
things, like bucket
Yeah,
list items, like a
yeah. So there's
Hermes
still
bag.
that. A Hermes bag. For some people, that's, you know what I mean? It's not for
Right,
us,
right.
but yes, I have friends that, what are they doing now? They are watching travel videos
Hmm.
to get ready for when this all happens, to go on their bucket list
Wow.
trips. So
Right,
yeah, so
right,
there's still things like that. I think those things will just take longer based on, again, when the travel industry is ready, because there's still that fear.
right,
But yeah, so you will still have that, right? I think generally everything will still be purchased. But the thing is, people will be highly selective.
right.
So you need to be that product and that brand
That
that
people will
deserves
select.
it.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. No,
Are
so it's
are you
difficult.
the dream, or are you the necessity, or if you're in the middle,
That's right. So it's people on both edges
yeah.
that will actually benefit from this. No, so
Yes.
um, so you either have to be like that dream product or the essential product that
Could
actually.
be.
Yep, yep. All right.
Could be. Right.
Well, hopefully
So
we find. I think most businesses will be able to move to either side. No, not everybody, like you said in the beginning, not everybody will survive, unfortunately, and that's going to be a fact of life. Like
yes.
restaurants will do really badly for sure.
Yeah.
I would think malls as well would be pretty badly hit after this.
Yeah.
Malls,
I think
restaurants, retail,
anything, and events,
and events. Yes.
concerts, bazaars, the bazaar of Filipinos. Um, yeah. So anything that basically challenges the norms that we used to do, that will now, that's now affected by COVID, it will take a while.
Right. Right.
It will take a while. Right?
And do you think how many years do you think till we bounce back from all of this?
Nobody really knows. So I had a meeting this morning. So I read somewhere that Mark Zuckerberg has
Hmm.
canceled all Facebook, any meeting or event that's over 50 people until fall of 2021.
Oh
So that's
wow,
what most people are saying
that's
about
long.
at
Huh?
least gatherings and events. Yeah.
So for events, it will be till fall of 2021, essentially.
That's what they're saying. And by
Correct.
events, they're talking about over 50 people. That's not even a big event.
That's not a big event. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not even a big event.
So this is something I have to
So,
take note of because we do events.
yeah,
Our events are definitely more than 50 people. So we've been trying to rack our brain on how to actually redesign the event so that we don't have that many people in one place at one time. And
yeah.
that's
Well,
something.
at least you're outdoors, so it's a little bit more.
Yes,
Correct?
yes. We're outdoors and in the sunlight, so that's something that we can actually control.
Yeah,
But then we have sometimes 500 people, and that's a lot of people. So that's
and the travel.
and the travel. Yes, everybody's traveling from somewhere, and
Exactly,
there's a
exactly,
chance that a lot of those people will, I don't know, be asymptomatic from COVID-19, and that's something
exactly.
which is why we're actually canceling all our events for the year. So,
Yeah,
and we're moving to more of the smaller events like 20 people, training camps, things like that, which are
okay.
much less people intensive for that. But yeah, that's it. I mean, the really interesting insight into what will sell and what will not, and what people will be doing. Hermes and luxury goods,
I know.
obviously.
But I think anybody can now really use design.
Right.
So, for example, you're redesigning your events. You have to,
Yes. Yes, we have
right?
to. We have to do
So
that.
exactly, and it might be even good for the environment. I don't know. I'm sure you're not ruining the environment, but
Right. Right.
I think this whole thing, as bad as it is for the economy, it might be better for the earth. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Right,
like I said,
definitely,
come
definitely. I mean,
too
there's
excessive.
this is a time when we can reset everything, rethink how we're growing our businesses, rethink how investment is being done, and
Yeah,
even just simply the fact where companies now have to think, should I get that loan to expand my business? Maybe it's not necessary. I mean,
yeah,
that's one of the things, and because generally businesses tend to want to grow year on year, maybe plateauing your growth is actually not a bad thing,
yeah,
and that's actually been done for hundreds of years, till probably the last century, where growth has
exactly.
been exponential.
Yeah, and yeah. So in a way, parang we're redesigning the world.
Right, right.
I mean, I don't want to make it sound bad way that it's design and whatever, but yeah, it will entail for us to redesign the world. I mean, to redesign the way governments think. I mean, it's not from the Philippines. Look at the United States, right? It's crazy. So you need to redesign the way governments think and react, businesses, the way people live. A lot of things talaga need to change, right?
Right.
And so I think that's why it's exciting for me. But
Right.
like you said, maybe I don't know if that's the designer side of what we do or the entrepreneurial side of me. I'm not sure. It's just, yeah, it feels like a clean slate almost.
Right, that's right. And that's where opportunity is, di ba? Parang that clean slate.
Yeah,
You can do anything. You can be anyone, essentially.
yeah. It's just, I guess, scary for people to start all over again.
Oh,
Especially if
definitely,
used to be,
definitely.
yeah.
A
So,
lot of businesses have been there for years, and many of them will go out of business with this.
yeah,
But it also points to, I think it really points, for me, it's important to see that businesses can go bust in 1 month of not doing anything. That just points to the fact that why is that a reality now, that you stop business for 1 month and you go out of business completely, di ba? Parang dapat hindi
yeah.
ganon. I mean,
Uh-oh.
why don't they have enough liquidity na parang 1 month lang out
Tapos
of
na.
business ka na, di ba? Tapos
Yeah.
na. So parang I think that's
This,
also how businesses should shift the way they think.
So I had this discussion with one of my mentors who, finance me or whatever. So I was saying, so he was checking on me, okay, what's the runway of your business? You all have to do that, right? How much longer, assuming you don't have collections,
Right.
how long can you last, right? So I was saying this, that, and I said at a certain point, I know that if, the financials don't come in, the collections, whatever, I will need to reinvest, right? And that's fine. And he was telling me, I'm glad you're saying that, right? Because that's the thing, JB, right? Your business has given you a lot throughout the years. And then there will come a time when it needs you.
Right.
That 1 month, right?
Right.
Or, bakit nga siya namamatay? Kasi yung may-ari, dapat willing kang pondohan ulit.
Right.
Diba?
Right.
Like you said, hindi pwedeng every year, kuha ka lang ng kuha. Diba?
Right.
When it's also down, I remember one of my clients, they hired a foreign partner we brought in that's really, really expensive. And, they earn well, but they're not like an Ayala or, Metrobank or SM. So I asked them, why did you spend for our partners? Obviously, they're very expensive. They're a global branding agency that the number one in the world. And when I sell them here to big corporations, even they find them expensive, right? You're medium sized, you're big, but you're medium. She's like, because Michelle, the way we see our business, this is our child. It's given us so much throughout the year. So now that it needs our attention, wouldn't you give your child the best?
Right.
And I was so surprised that she said that. She was a 34-year-old girl, right? And she was right. That business has given them so much. And now that it needs attention, why would you get a mediocre company or, to give that? If that were your child, you wouldn't.
Right.
See?
So this is a really good point you're saying, no? Na a lot of these businesses have all these founders and everything, and like you said, you yourself, you're willing to reinvest in the business. Obviously, your business runs itself now, and it has enough funds for up to a certain number of months. And reinvesting is actually something that maybe a lot of business owners should be thinking of now, no? And putting back, keeping their staff in office, keeping their staff paid. It's the least maybe they can do. They're already millionaires or multimillionaires. And putting in something from their own pocket is actually giving back to the business, giving back to all the people who have built the business for you, who have made you all of these millions, and just keep them afloat for the next few months. And
it's your brand, it's your business. If you don't believe in it, why would others believe in it?
Right.
Why would a bank lend you money if you don't believe in it? Right. So I understand. I guess it's different if your business is really going to be dead after this.
Right.
Right. And then you need to innovate. You need to pivot.
Right.
Right. So, and even in that pivoting and reinvesting, you'll need to reinvest not only money but time.
Right.
But that business is yours. Why wouldn't you take care of it? So I guess that's the difference also. Being founder versus, I don't know. So that's just my personal.
Right. But I think it's really, really good insight for the moment, where a lot of businesses for sure are going to go bankrupt. They're gonna lay off their workers in a few months. I'm seeing a lot of the restaurants who are probably not going to be able to survive all of this, because restaurants rely on cash flow, and a lot of them are not going to survive this. And maybe that what you're saying is really, I think it rings a lot for me, because a lot of these people who own the businesses are in the top 10% or 20% of the country, and reinvesting into the businesses is actually only a fraction of their wealth. So it's actually something that they can do and they should do, at the very least, to give back to the workers who have built businesses for them.
And and like I said, the workers and even the company that has given you so much throughout the years. Again, right? But again, that's my personal take.
Right.
But what's interesting is talking about restaurants and you also see now who's very innovative,
right?
And how they're capitalizing on this. So my friend and I were talking to a client this morning. There's a baker who delivers regular pandesal and stuff to my neighborhood. And Viber, Google Sheets, and then He'll say Thursday I deliver to Rockwell, Wednesday to BGC, to Quezon City, everywhere, right? But so one day you fill up the Google Sheets, he will deliver on the day that he's scheduled to go to your community, and he'll text you in that group. So I'm in the group of my building.
Mm-hmm.
I see the total. My building alone, he collects 15,000 per delivery.
Wow.
There are 9 buildings here.
Galing. Yeah?
Right? From Pandesal, Spanish Bread, and Cebada, there are 9 buildings here.
Right.
And he does that in BGC, and he does. So I'm thinking, if you compute how much he makes, right? If it's 15,000 here times 9 buildings,
right.
Laki din. Easily makes.
Yeah.
Laki din. Then he does it in BGC, in Quezon. So I think that's an interesting business model if I were him. Because people are telling him, will you continue after lockdown? Diba? Kasi yun na nga, nasanay na eh. Habit na yung dinadala sa...
Habit na siya. Yeah.
Habit na siya eh. For him, no rent, no big rent, a commissary, and ganyan. Parang...
That's true, no? That's true. That's something that...
Niya.
Yeah. But not everybody can do this. No, he's probably an early adopter of this whole thing. No, it's not something many people like. My mother runs a school, and she finds it very difficult to shift to digital because she comes from the time na hindi digital and all of that. So parang it's not something that it's something for much younger generation. Maybe 40s, 40s and below, parang ganun. In order to adapt to it. But right now, I think technology already, it's all there. Eh? All you have to do is use it. No? So you don't even need to develop some things. So like for instance, Zoom. I mean, I started this whole podcast on Zoom because Zoom actually exists and allows me to do it. I have a fiber connection that allows me to do it. And so, parang inumpisan ko, and it's you're my fifth guest.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
exactly.
So I think you need to shift faster, and the people who be able to shift faster to digital technology will be the winners. No, and everything, all the tools exist essentially for you.
And that's what's galing about the Filipinos. They can make things out of nothing, and that's why like the Medijeep. So this guy doesn't even have a website.
Right.
He just started a WhatsApp Viber group, and then Google Sheets,
and
it's not even a website.
Right.
So it's
amazing, no?
Yeah, who can
simple
pivot?
lang.
Simple lang. Diba? Kailangan mabilis. So it's agile.
Right.
Who can innovate and who can be agile about it.
Yeah. You have to be the Vico Soto of business.
Exactly. Kaya din madaming mamamatay.
Right.
Like you said.
Right. Well, last question. If you had the resources and the ability to implement anything, like your dream idea, what would that be? Like, what would, for the Philippines, like to change the Philippines? I don't know, whatever. Do you have like a dream idea? Big, you have the resources, you have the team, everybody's willing to work with you. Is there something that you want to do?
Well, there's this, I was telling you this idea we had that it's been parked during COVID. It's basically how to reduce single-use plastic in a year and a half. So
in a year and a half? Talaga, may timeline na kayo.
Yeah. Parang ganun, year and a half to 2 years. Ganun.
Okay.
So when we do these little exercises, whether it's Medijeep or this other thing we call reverse invasion, the guideline, the aesthetic criteria is not that high. So you'll see, right? It's more of how we solve a problem. Mm-hmm. So the criteria for us nga is it simple to do, generally affordable because we live in the third world country, and then fast to implement, right? So that idea we have fits all three. That's why there's the timeline, the fast, right? So how long will it take? A year and a half to 2 years. And then simple to do, yes. Fast to do, yes. So basically, that would be it. To give you an idea, it's how do we reverse manufacturing processes instead of taking it forward, so that we can remove single-use plastic in the country. However, it will take bravery that Ligo has.
Mm-hmm.
So because we're challenging basically the big companies'
The Unilever,
processes
the Procter
and
and Gamble. No?
yes, their processes, their appetite for revenue versus because everybody naman says they want to be sustainable, eh.
Right.
But right, the sustainability affects bottom line. So something gets delayed, and chances are it's sustainability, right? So what we're saying here is that there is a solution that will still keep you profitable. Maybe it will lessen your profit, but you're still profitable. But it's an immediate solution. So that
And,
would
and
be
can you maybe share what, or is this like a secret? Pa?
no, I can share it.
Right.
I just don't know without the whole percentage, but I guess you'll get it. Basically, reverse innovation is so we feel that everybody's trying to invent the next material that will replace plastic, right?
Mhm.
But we feel like until that happens, the world can't wait. So they say we only have 3 years, 4 years. I don't know what's the right study, but
Okay.
there's no time to wait. And even if it gets developed in the States, it will take longer to come to the Philippines, if at all we can
Right.
afford that
Right.
product. So we need to find our own solution. So what we realized, and that's why we call it reverse innovation, do we really need to invent something new? Or should we just go back to old ways that already worked? So for example, we took things like water bottles,
Okay.
right? Um, right now, my clients, all of us, we take, water bottles with us everywhere we
Right.
go, like
I
this,
have one
right?
also.
Exactly, and they're kind of getting fancy, stylish and whatever. So before, we needed to buy those individual water bottles because there was an issue of water safety, right? Kumukulusig tayo ng tubig sa bahay, diba? Ngayon wala na eh. Everyone, even the mass market, the middle class, they have water dispensers in their household. You
That's
can
true.
buy a
Yeah.
whole 5 gallon for 40 pesos.
Right.
So
Right.
water safety isn't an issue anymore. So why are we still buying water for
Right.
like 15 pesos in 7-Eleven? Why?
Right.
So I can just carry one of these. I have a water dispenser in the office. I have a water dispenser in the house. When I go to restaurants, the water is filtered and it's free, right? So it's a change in behavior. And then so one is a change in behavior. We'd like to teach people that it's gone are the days where water wasn't safe,
Right.
right? And since it's stylish to buy these, buy one, right?
Right.
So we have this whole study and even how much money you can save in a year. Parang you can save around 4,000 pesos if you bought an expensive bottle like this
Right.
versus buying one mineral water bottle this big every day. You actually save money. So, but the other one is manufacturing, right? So it's telling Coca-Cola, instead of you producing plastic bottles, why don't you go back to bottles, glass bottles? You had that system before. You know how to do it,
Right.
right? You used to earn money before. Why don't you go back to that system so that it's not single use? Because what did they do? What did these companies do? They developed a cheaper system, plastic, because they didn't have to think about the disposal. They
Right.
made disposal the problem of the consumer
That's
and the
right.
government.
That's
Exactly. It's not the problem of the
Kasi dati the
consumer.
bottles, they would take it back, and then there would be a
Yes.
problem. They would be the ones in charge of disposal. That's right.
Exactly. They were in charge of cleaning it and whatever. Now they just throw it at us and government, right? So we even have this study of how much money is the government losing from single-use plastic,
Right.
Why?
Wow.
You pay for garbage disposal.
That's true.
That's the
true.
government
Yeah.
expense.
Right.
Before, they would pay for that cleaning. Now, no more. You na, government, right?
Right. They
Land-
passed on
so-
that to the people and the government.
Exactly. So one is garbage disposal. That's an expense. Second is healthcare, because eventually all this plastic, right, gets back into the system. We eat it, blah, blah, blah. Who pays for healthcare in the country? There's universal healthcare now. Government takes a hit with healthcare, right? Another one is real estate, right? We're filling land, we have
Sayang,
landfills
diba?
of compacted, exactly. Right?
Right.
You can't use that. Nobody can build on those because it's like 6 feet worth of compacted trash.
Right. Right.
So the idea is even for uh, companies that issue sachets, ganyan, companies should pay an environmental tax, which is commensurate to the price that the government sees as their expense in
So a
garbage disposal,
pollution tax,
health.
essentially.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a sin tax,
Right.
For cigarettes and sugar. So why shouldn't there be an environmental tax? There's a specific expense that the government is shouldering for you, for just all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Not taking care of your own trash.
That's interesting, no? That your solution is actually a management system and not like a technological solution.
No.
Right.
So go back to glass, or go to aluminum cans, or go back to glass, right? So we know you know how to do it. If you want to improve on the system before, yeah, but go back to that system. We know you made money from it before. We know you know how to do it. So we know there are capabilities in the Philippines to do it. Yeah, it won't take you a long time to R&D it because you've done it before.
Right.
So you do that, and if you don't, right, so how long will that take, right? And then if you don't, then there's an environmental tax.
Right.
Which is
that's
computed by
pretty
the
simple.
government.
And some other countries do this as well, no? Polluter pay taxes. I think Germany does that for their plastic manufacturers as well. So this is definitely something that's easily done. No?
So we have that idea for plastic bottles, and then for sachets as well. So it's a system, like you said, it's a management system. It earns the government money from environmental tax. It's having them change their manufacturing methods, not asking them to make new ones, right? They can use the old systems because the old systems naman worked.
Right.
So, and then if you go back to old systems, you can initiate it faster. Because we're not waiting for R&D. We're not waiting for these
new technology.
New technologies that even the new technologies might even be, what do you call that? Have its own risk that we don't know yet.
True.
So that's called reverse innovation. And right now, that would be kind of cool if we could get that now.
Well, after this whole thing, you'll probably have the credibility after the Medijeep. So maybe that will help push for this
maybe
going against the whole plastic industry in the country. So thank you very much for I know this is a really, really insightful podcast, especially for me. Just some last questions. Is there any book that you would recommend, or what books are you reading right now?
I can't finish a book anymore. I'll be honest with you. I'll say that I don't know why. Once I learn something, I stop. But I'm about to start Tools of the Titans.
Oh, Tools of the Titans. Okay, right. I've heard of this book.
And then I'm in the middle of Melinda Gates' book.
Oh, okay. That's a new book, right? That's somewhat.
It's a new book. Yeah. So. But also, I read a lot of magazines, articles. So that's why when you send me stuff, I digest it right away. So I read a lot of Inc.com.
Inc.com, okay.
Yeah, Fast Company. Both different. Fast Company is very Silicon Valley oriented. Inc.com is more like vitamin B. It's not valuation driven. It's really about companies who make revenue on their own. So I read a lot of Inc.com, and generally, really, a lot of New York Times, The New Yorker, Washington Journal. So
okay, now we know what the CEO reads.
Well, I'm sure they read more than me. Anyway, yeah.
Any podcasts that you listen to?
JB, sorry, no, not so much.
No, okay, that's fine.
No, not so. Yeah, call me Badoy, but I listen to Tony Robbins a lot.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know him. So so I listen to him a lot. I actually have taken one of his courses.
Oh,
So
okay.
very useful for me in terms of setting direction for my thoughts.
All right. All right.
So I this year, to be honest, is it's about streamlining the people I listen to. Because I
Okay.
kind of got gulo. I was listening to so many people.
Mhm.
So this year, I've decided to streamline a lot of who I listen to.
Cut out the noise. Okay.
Yeah, cut out the noise.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to share with us? You want to say before we end this whole discussion? Really, really insightful discussion.
Well, no, to me, it was like, because I know you come from a very different perspective, like, the environment. Most of the people
Yes.
you interviewed are that. So I hope that I'm still coming from a different point of view. I know what I mean, business, marketing, but so I hope it was beneficial. But
Oh, definitely,
I think,
definitely.
yeah, I think what's interesting here is um, how does this time really make everybody think? You know what I mean? I'd like to see um, better businesses, better products. Those are two different things for me: better businesses, better products. Um, yeah, it would really be a shame if things went back to the way they were.
Right. We
So
shouldn't
yeah,
go back to normal. No, there should be a total shift in how we do things, and this is the
yeah.
chance. Parang I think Winston Churchill said, "Don't waste a good crisis," or something like
Oh,
that.
that's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
yeah. Don't waste a good crisis. So this crisis is,
yeah,
as you say, it's an opportunity for everyone.
exactly.
So
So yeah, I hope. I
yeah.
always believe that the Philippines has a lot of opportunities.